So first, Stanton probably gone for the season. Luis Heel, he's gone for like 3 months. Now we get Garrett Cole out for the year. And he's like the ace. He's kind of important to the team. He's not going to be here for 2025. I don't know if you have a replacement for Cole. It's kind of an important guy to have. I mean, he's your ace. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the unthinkable did happen. Garrett Cole out for the 2025 season. Will undergo Tommy John surgery, which takes him out for this season and perhaps a chunk of next season. Of course, the Yankees having a rash of big injuries this spring training, and this was probably just about maybe as worse as it get, maybe second to judge. But nevertheless, the Yankees have to go forward without Garrett Cole, their ace, for the 2025 season. Now, is it the end of the day for them? Probably not, so we'll get into the whole thing, the ramifications, and also there's some other big injuries floating out there, meaning Giancarlo Stanton, which has been beaten to death about a lot. To kind of give you an update on the treatment going there. But there is a little bit good news. The Yankees have an interesting leadoff hitter, if you haven't noticed that, who's been thriving well. So we'll try to put a little positive spin on this episode, but it's going to be mostly negative, because if you don't have Garrett Cole, that kind of sucks. So we'll get into the whole thing, but before we get started, still have some spring left to go, and we have a whole baseball season. So if you want to get my instant reactions and things like this, you could have got my reactions sooner. You have to be an audio podcast subscriber. So there's an audio podcast version of the show. You're seeing me, but there's something else that you haven't maybe even know yet. Wherever you get your favorite podcast, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Sign up there, and as well here, if you're watching on YouTube for the first time, subscribe here as well. And if you're watching on TV, you got multiple double duty to do. Make sure you get the audio podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast, and then check out after you're watching the show, go to YouTube, type in Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe there as well, get the entire team. So probably the top story not only for the Yankees, but probably all of baseball. Garrett Cole will undergo Tommy John surgery, and now this is coming after his latest outing where he got cuffed up a little bit, and people kind of curious. He only went 2 2/3 inning through 54 pitches, but the alarming that he gave up 6 earned runs, and then after he kind of said he felt discomfort, which sent off alarm bells a little bit. But kind of figured it could have been sort of like last spring. Remember, he had that nerve issue where it's like, worst case scenario, figured maybe got to shut him down for a few weeks or a few months like that, and we'll come back. You're not really expecting Tommy John, even that to be, those whispers there, but nevertheless, they did an MRI. The initial opinion was to get the MRI, get the Tommy John surgery, and of course, Cole went to a Los Angeles specialist there. He also seconded that opinion that he should get the Tommy John surgery, so Cole finally said, okay, I'll have to get the surgery, so Cole will go under the knife there, which, in terms of the recovery timetable, they say anywhere from 12 to 18 months, kind of varies, because different pitcher to pitcher. Only thing about Cole now, he's 34 years old, so it's different. When you recover, when you get the surgery, in the minors when like 21, 22, your recovery is much easier than when you're a 34-year-old, coming back maybe next year season when he's going to be 35 there. So hard to see if he's going to miss also a chunk of 2026 as well. That remains to be seen, but at least the good news is kind of getting it done right away, so you can kind of start that timetable of recovery. But again, it totally takes him out for 2025, and if you're the Yankees, I mean, you would say Garrett Cole is probably the second most important player. The first one is, of course, Aaron Judge. So is this devastating bad news for the Yankees? Yeah, but is it like, season ending, or is the season just completely gone type of news? No. I mean, as much as Garrett Cole is important to the Yankees, I mean, he only plays once every 5 games when he takes the ball there. And, you can kind of hold down the fort a little bit with some other options until you get to the trade deadline, and then you hope maybe you can make a trade for another ace, someone like a Dylan Cease, for example, that seems to be floating out there every spring. I mean, you're probably going to have to overpay for somebody because they know the Yankees need somebody, but there's always someone you could get out there, whether it's like a Corbin Burns type that's floating around there that was last season as well. So you can always kind of, those type of players, they always seem like you could kind of get an ace if you really need one. You're probably going to have to overpay, but if the Yankees really in a position where they need one, they probably can get one there. But yes, this is very bad news for the Yankees. Now, all thing I'll say is, like, it's not code red. If, like, let's just say something like Aaron Judge was out for the entire season, then I would say, all right, this season's finished. Don't even bother watching it, because even with all the great additions the Yankees made to the lineup, Aaron Judge is just the nerve center, the backbone to the Yankee offense. And if he's out, I mean, obviously he's the MVP player, a 2-time MVP for a reason. So if it was an injury to Judge like that, then I would say, all right, this season's probably not going to happen or go well there, because it's hard to replace Aaron Judge. Garrett Cole, as great as he is, as important he is for the Yankees, you can still kind of tiptoe your way through a regular season And again, hopefully maybe can make some sort of move around the trade deadline, which is July 31st this year there. So, again, it's not all bad for the Yankees. And again, I was trying to give a little positive. If you remember how last season started, Garrett Cole was not there for the start of the season. In fact, he didn't come to the team until late June. He was dealing with that nerve issue that, again, didn't require surgery. But the starting rotation did well for themselves. Actually, they were kind of setting records there. Everything was going well for the Yankees. You got the good version of Stroman. I know the Yankee rotation might be a little different now with Max Fried there, but nevertheless, the Yankees were doing well without Garrett Cole to start the season, and actually things were kind of rock and rolling. And that's with Aaron Judge not really having a good start this season. If you remember his April, he was absolutely terrible in April. In fact, you were kind of thinking, oh, is the Judge hurt? Is he losing it? Oh my God, we got him for, he signed that big contract. We got him for another 8 years. Now he stinks. And then, of course, Aaron Judge kicked it into gear afterwards and had himself another MVP season. But nevertheless, even with a terrible Judge, the Yankees did get off to a good start to the season. So again, the Yankees could kind of manage their way through this. So it's not backbreaking, the season's over type of bad news. But of course, you want Garrett Cole there. Obviously, he's a perennial, Cy Young caliber type of pitcher. He's going to get you anywhere from 18 to 20 wins. And of course, you want him for those big postseason games. You want that guy to go out there, go up against another team's ace for 7 innings and go mano a mano. That is what you're going to lose probably in the postseason. But again, if the Yankees can make some sort of move around the trade deadline, you could kind of replace him with that. So this is terrible news, and again, it's been a terrible spring for the Yankees. I'm going to go off the list of injuries. Of course, you got Giancarlo Stanton, which we'll update a little bit later on that. DJ LeMahieu with the calf, Luis Hill with the lat, who's going to be out for, probably until almost June there. So not a good start for the Yankees health-wise. And of course, again, other than Aaron Judge, is probably the worst news you could possibly get, that your ace is going to undergo Tommy John surgery. Now you might say, couldn't they picked up on this sooner? Because it kind of came all of a sudden. Well, according to Boone, they did an MRI on Garrett Cole at the end of the 2024 season. They said they liked what they saw there, and they said he was doing well with his winter throwing session there. So I guess all this time there, I guess nothing has happened. I guess he had no discomfort, and I guess this has popped up seemingly after again the start of his latest start there. Where now he was hitting 95 regularly on average with the fastball, so he had the velocity there. And in fact, even one time touched 97. But according to Garrett Cole, as he said, it was all horsepower, no command. I guess and that's why he was got clocked over the ball. So I figured it would be more of a red flag. He was only throwing 92, 93, and that was kind of the problem he had with his injury last season. I mean, even Vogelbach took him deep. He didn't really have the good velocity, but it turns out that he needs surgery. This situation where he has the good velocity needs surgery. So go figure that one out. And another thing kind of interesting to look at, if you look at the end of the 2024 season, Garrett Cole opted out of his contract. Now, the Yankees almost could have had a situation where they could have been relieved from this because there was 4 years left and $140 million left on that deal. The whole situation was that then, Cole opted out, and then a day or two later he went back to the Yankee front office there and said, can I opt back in? They said, okay, and we'll work out some sort of extension. But the Yankees could have dodged a bullet if they kind of said bye-bye after he opted out there. Now, you can look at this thing, and I kind of covered this on the audio podcast, threw it out there. Again, I know even though the Yankees did an MRI and he felt good during the offseason, Garrett Cole could have potentially known maybe something could be wrong with his elbow, potentially. And if he opted out of his deal, and let's say he opted out of his deal and went to free agency, okay, well, another team's going to sign you. He's looking for a 5 to 6 years deal. They're going to put you under a battery of tests. Obviously, when you do that with a free agent, well, under this battery test, they would have noticed something in his elbow and they wouldn't have signed him. So not only would he lost that contract, but again, if he opted out, he would have lost $144 million from the Yankees. So you kind of see maybe that's why he might have opted back in. Again, conspiracy theory a little bit there, but it does kind of make sense, why he would opt back in to not lose that Yankee money. Because if he went somewhere else and he failed a physical because they may have noticed something in his elbow, then he would have been out on both sides there and really in dire straits there. So he kind of went back into the Yankee to get that guaranteed $144 million. So that's where we stand right now. Again, I mentioned that Yankees can manage and massage their way through this. You have some other options, at least to take the spot there. Of course, Will Warren is throwing the ball pretty well in spring training. He's been opening eyes. Again, is he Garrett Cole? No, but this is someone competent you can put in there for a while. You got Carlos Carrasco, who Cashman brought in off the scrap heap. I know he's 37, 38, and his best years are behind him. But maybe he competes. Maybe you get a little Bartolo Colon renaissance out of him, perhaps, just to hold down the fort a little bit there. Or we'll just see one of these young guys comes up maybe from the minors that surprises us there. So, again, when you're only depending on him once every 5 games there, it's not as dire as an everyday player like missing Aaron Judge, something like that there. So again, the Yankees can manage their way through this. So I don't think it ruins this season. I would still say they're going to, they're probably still a top team in the AL East. Very likely, unless they just have more injuries, very well should be one in the playoffs there. So I don't think it hurts their chances to be a World Series contender. But obviously you feel more comfortable if you had Garrett Cole in there. And it's kind of just looking back at Yankee history. I can't really see too many injuries like this where a player was out for the entire season. I mean, we've seen players lose a big chunk of time. You go back to 1996 with David Cohn had the aneurysm situation where he missed a whole chunk of the season, but he came back later on midway and because helped carry the Yankees to the 1996 World Series. Now, the difference there is that Garrett Cole's out the whole year. There's hard to make a comparison with that one. You could look back also with Mariano Rivera when he was flagging fly balls out in the outfield there. Obviously, he tore his knee out and was done for the rest of the year, and that was kind of devastating. Lost for the rest of the year, but the Yankees luckily signed Rafael Soriano and had him move into the closer role, and the Yankees really skip a beat in terms of the back end of the bullpen there. So you lose a big player like Mo, but still the Yankees were still able to manage to go. And you had the whole situation with Giambi in 04 with that pituitary cancer thing, which turned out to be related to PED use. You didn't have Giambi for the entire 04. And of course, we know what the Yankees did. I mean, they were 3 up in the American League Championship Series. And I have to remind Yankee fans what happened after that. Yes, they did get Boston won the next 4, but they were right there, 1 game away from getting to World Series without your big man, Jason Giambi there. So again, Yankees have had some situations like this in the past where they're still able to manage and get really close to the promised land there. So I don't think there's this little difference here is that you don't have Garrett Cole for the entire season there. So that's a disappointing there. But the Yankees can thrive and get through it. So yes, he's just one of 26 players there. So again, I don't think it hinders the Yankees' chances there, but obviously it does stink that you don't have Garrett Cole there, and you're just gonna have to hold down the fort with some of these guys, which I think they could do. And again, I just think the team, especially with the bullpen, the way they reloaded it, I think the bullpen's better than it has been in the season or 2 past there, and they're gonna have to rely on them more. So that's good news there. So I think at least some of these guys like Will Warren not gonna go 7 innings, but if he'll give you 5 good innings there, and then you can go to the bullpen again, I think the Yankees can manage their way through this. So I don't think it doesn't mean the season's over there. So I wouldn't throw away tickets or turning back on the team, say it's all over there. It stinks, but I think the Yankees still can definitely have a good chance to put themselves in the playoffs and got a good shot still to get to the World Series. And with Cole gone for 2025, now everyone's looking at Max Fried, the free agent signing, as kind of the de facto ace of the team, which he kind of is, and kind of a unique position maybe we haven't seen with the Yankees maybe since, CC Sabathia joined the Yankees as free agent in 2009. Now you can also say, well, Andy Pettitte was on the team too, so even though, CC was the better pitcher, still as Pettitte as the veteran had the championship, maybe Pettitte was kind of leader there, that weird thing, but kind of throwing Max Fried in here is like, all right, here's some money, now you're the Yankee ace there, so kind of puts him right in the spotlight there, so a unique position for him. Even when the Yankees signed Mike Mussina back in 2001, you still had established pitchers there like Andy Pettitte, David Wells, Roger Clemens. So he was kind of able to ease his way in here. You're kind of throwing Max Fried out there. It's like, all right, you're the Yankee ace right now there. So interesting position from him. And if you look at the signing, I mean, really, just from Cashman there, obviously he wouldn't predict any of this happened there, but, what a good signing there, because this man, if the Yankees did not sign him and you would kind of go into the season with Rendon, Luis Hill, Gonzalo Jr., and like Nestor Cortez and Stroman there, a little bit thin there. So obviously, you look at Max Fried there, it kind of softens the blow. And really, Max Fried wasn't really someone we thought about, during the free agency period. He was almost like a throw-in. I think he just came as the result of, okay, we didn't spend a bundle of money on Juan Soto, so let's just throw some money around. We'll pick up Max Fried, fine, like that. So that's the kind of seems like the reason why the Yankees signed there, almost like a throw-in, almost like an embarrassment of luxury there. But see how that signing all turns out there. You would almost slot him as your ace of the team. Not that it really matters. I mean, once you get through the first cycle of the starters, there, it doesn't really matter what order they go in there. But kind of always like to have that ace there. So you look at Max Fried there. Thing with Rendon, as good as he is, you don't just so see him as an ace type pitcher like that. He's just someone a compatible, kind of a sidekick number 2 type of pitcher there. So everyone's gonna kind of look at Max Fried now as the Yankee ace, and again throwing a lot of pressure on him. He's a guy pitching in Atlanta. I know he has some postseason experience here, but of course a totally different ball game. A lot of expectations, but what a good signing by the Yankees at Cashman. At least to have him, just because obviously you can't foresee this happening there, but at least it could have been much worse had the Yankees not had Max Fried. And as Cashman mentioned there, right now there's not really much out there in the marketplace. You kind of have to wait, let the season fall out, hope if you have some teams that add a contention, and try to snag an ace or another top top-flight type of pitcher from another team there. But right now, at least you can put Max Fried in there. It is putting a lot of pressure on him. Is he going to handle it? Is he going to buckle? Or remains to be seen there. It was easy for him to kind of start the season to sort of fly under the radar because, again, you do have Garrett Cole. You do have Rendon already. He's going to go into the third season, and Fried can kind of work his way slowly. Right now, he's going to put on the spotlight. I think he could be okay. I think he'll be able to handle it there, but remains to be seen. But again, good signing by the Yankees there because they did not have Max Fried. You're looking at a very, very, very thin starting rotation. And the other big name Yankee likely during Garrett Cole in the knife, and that's of course Giancarlo Stanton, dealing with the sore elbows. And as I kind of covered it a little bit in this show there, Yankees give him the platelet-rich plasma treatments there. Now he's up to first 2 shots there. Now he's getting a 3rd shot there. So we got 3 shots in his elbow there. Not looking any better. And of course, really what was scary though that after the second treatment there, he still lists his injuries as severe. So I can't see how you go from severe to playing anytime soon here. So it's just very likely to look like he also is going to have to go under the knife. Again, they haven't really mentioned anything like that there, but just look at the verbiage. Usually if you call something severe, I don't know how you go from severe to like playing 2 months from now there. So it's looking very likely that these shots that they're giving him his elbows are not working there, and probably he too is going to have to go under the knife there. So again, this has been a rough start to the 2025 season in terms of injuries. But I would also similar to Garrett Cole, even with Giancarlo Stanton there, I don't still think it hinders the Yankees' ability to be the best team in the AL East, to get to the playoffs, and at least somewhat to compete for the World Series title there. So yes, Stanton's a big name. We know he's important. The power and the production he can do. But even go to last season as well, where he had a decent season, but he also missed a lot of time there. Now look, he was almost close to godlike in the postseason, which you can't expect at each time. Now overall, when he's been there, yes, he's been a good postseason performer for the Yankees. But if you want in terms of look at the regular season there, again, I just think this Yankee team in terms of the offense, what they have now compared to they have a year ago, even with the loss of Soto, I just still think they have firepower to make up for the loss of Stanton. And I'll look at a couple of areas. Number one, I look to first base, what Paul Goldschmidt's going to give you versus what you've been getting in recent years with Anthony Rizzo, which really, his power has been zapped, unfortunately. And again, that's probably why he's still not signed by any teams. And also you look at Jason Dominguez, having him for a full season, again, give you what he could potentially give you over what you got with Alex Verdugo last season there. So I think the Yankees, and then overall there's some other Yankees I think are going to be better, such as having Jazz for an entire season, having Anthony Volpe take a next step, and having someone like Austin Wells, which we'll get a little bit later there, also take a next step. So I just think you'll get more production out of this team. So even with the loss of Stan, as bad as it is, I just still think the Yankees can manage their way through it. But yes, it's not official yet, but we'll see how this goes. But I'm probably within a couple of weeks, we're probably going to hear something that he's going to need surgery, because you're up to, 3 of these shots already his elbow, and seemingly not got any better there. So I just don't see how magically a 4th or a 5th or a 6th shot's going to do any difference there. So probably is going to have to go under the knife, unfortunately. Now you might ask, what happened with this elbow? Why did this creep up? Well, this kind of goes back to last season. Is why you want to be an audio podcast subscriber. Kind of got into this there, but mentioned he did make some tweaks during the last offseason. Obviously had a miserable 2023 there, batting average under 200, and obviously he wanted to go into 2024 a little lighter, so he lost a little bit of weight, and he changed his batting swing a little bit just to get to the ball a little faster. Obviously, once you approach your mid-30s, your bat speed slows down, and you got to make little tweaks to kind of get through the zone quicker. I guess whatever tweaks he made, whatever he did there, kind of hurt his elbows. So yes, he was able to get to the ball better. Again, he had a much better 2024, at least batting average-wise and other things. But I guess by doing so, by tweaking his swing, looks like he hurt his elbows, and that was kind of the issue that he had last season and going into the spring there. So that seems to be the root cause of it, and it looks like these shots aren't helping there. So again, probably most likely, I would say right now 70 to 75%, the Yankees also not going to have Stanton for 2025. So, do you want some more injuries? I think you want more. We'll give you some more injuries. Now, this one obviously not as dire for the Yankees, but again, it's yet another injury. So let's mention that's called Tyler Mazik. Now, he's the lefty that the Yankees brought in and kind of invited him. The former Braves, reliever there, who probably had his best years a couple of years ago. But the Yankees taking a flyer on him with an oblique strain, but again, not seen as serious, and someone who should be available come April there. But again, we have all these injuries there, so I figure I want to get you another one. Now, he's kind of, we would say the Yankees might be second lefty option out of the bullpen if even he makes the team there. Again, not as bad because, of course, the Yankees signed Tim Hill to be their main lefty out of the bullpen there. So, again, not the worst thing in the world, but again, it's yet another injury for the Yankees, so I figure it's worth mentioning. Okay, that's all with the bad injury news happened, I'll give you a little good injury news just to shake it up a little bit. And one of those pieces is going to be Jake Cousins, who came into camp with the right forearm strain there. Again, wasn't throwing for a while. Looks like he's finally started a throwing program, so he starts his time clock there. When he's actually going to come back, we don't know there, but at least good to get him throwing. And if you look at Jake Cousins there, obviously a couple of things you overlook. Number one, this rotation without Cole and without Luis Hill to start the season, they're going to rely heavily on the bullpen, as mentioned before. So again, you get as many arms as you possibly get there. Now, guys are going to get fatigued, guys are going to get tired, and other people are going to get hurt there. So again, the Yankees are relying on this bullpen. So it's good that Cashman did stack them up during the offseason, and having important pieces like Jake Cousins come back is going to be good for the Yankees. And if you look at Cousins, if you want to go back to the postseason of 2024, they relied on him. It was basically him, Clay Holmes were the bridge to get to Luke Weaver closing the game. So they were relying on Jake Cousins to get some big outs in the postseason, which he did there. So that's definitely a quality arm you want to get back. And of course, we can't also forget about John Golizga. Previously mentioned here that he's targeting sometime in May to come back there. So again, the Yankees bullpen is going to be pretty stacked, which is going to be needed there because you're probably going to have a lot of situations just where whatever the spot comes out that would have been Cole or Luis Hill, whoever they have in there, probably at best is going to give you 4, maybe 5 innings there, and you're going to be relying on your bullpen maybe 5 to 6 innings there. So to have many strong arms as possible in that bullpen is going to be beneficial for the Yankees. And again, just sort of like Max Fried, Devin Williams is someone that you probably wouldn't have predicted that the Yankees would have to get during the offseason. How important now he becomes because now you can lengthen out that bullpen. He becomes the closer there, and then Luke Weaver is someone you probably see he's your 8th inning guy, but we know what Weaver could do. He can also throw multiple innings there. So Yankees are going to be very heavy on this bullpen just because with the loss of Cole and Luis Hill. And the Yankees making some roster moves, which maybe fans aren't happy with, but kind of makes sense. And of course, one of them being Everson Pereira, option to AAA. Now he's had a decent spring training there, and a lot of fans are like, he's ready. He's been up at the major league level before there. Obviously, he needed surgery last season that shut him down there, but he does have some major league experience. But again, I just didn't make sense for him to join the team just because in terms of roster spots, the Yankees are pretty stacked in the outfield, and plus you have Trent Grisham who's back from his hamstring injury. So I just don't know if there was any room for Pereira there. And plus, again, he in the small time he's been with the Yankees, been okay there, but I don't think it's enough to sort of bounce somebody, and I just don't think there's enough at bats or even room on the bench for him there. So that kind of makes sense. And again, two other Yankees that we highlighted on the show previously here on YouTube and also on the audio podcast has been both, of course, Spencer Jones, who everyone's looking forward to, and George Lombard Jr. Now, George Lombard Jr. got some eyes open this early spring, crushed 2 balls early, and he's someone who, plays third base, and both Aaron Judge and Aaron Boone are saying good things about his defensive skills as well. And you figure, hey, the Yankees don't really have a third baseman. You have a open competition at third base now. Why not throw him in the mix? But it didn't seem that was going to be possible just because there's so many players ahead of him. He's only 19 years old, and yes, he ran into 2 home runs this season, whoop-de-doo. But as I highlighted on the show here, if you go back to last season in total, he only hit 5 home runs the entire season there. So, and he was only hitting about 230. So, I just don't think his stats scream that he's ready for the major league level quite yet there. So the Lombard Jr. news makes sense of him being now assigned to minor league camp as well as Spencer Jones. And again, everyone's waiting for Spencer Jones, the so-called left-handed Aaron Judge there. But same reason, I just don't think, not that he's not ready. And again, he's like he said, he's doing some, as he quote, danger to the ball when he crushes it. He's been hitting well this spring. But I just don't think where the room is and where the at-bats are for him on this team there. Again, the Yankees are pretty stacked in the outfield. And I know even with Stanton down, you're not going to have Spencer Jones, as a young guy being a DH, or you're not going to have Spencer Jones in the outfield and have Judge as a full-time DH. It's just not possible there. So, it kind of makes sense. So those two reassigned to minor league camp, and let's let the season play out. We'll see if someone goes down, if, God forbid, Judge goes down or Jason Dominguez goes down. Maybe then that opens the door for either Pereira or Spencer Jones to come up here at some point. But at least for the start of the season, the Yankees are pretty stacked and on the bench there as well. And again, you want a guy to play every day and get developed. You can't develop if you only get 1 at-bat per week there. It's just not worth being on the major league level. Can Spencer Jones play here on the show, so to speak? Maybe, but again, you're not going to bring him up here only to play once a week. It's going to stunt his growth. You want to get him as much experience as possible, and they're better off in the minors there, playing every day versus coming up here and just playing like once a week. Now you might have noticed something a little odd this spring in terms of the Yankee lineup, and that's, of course, Austin Wells batting leadoff, which he has done in 7 of the 8 games he's played in there. And there's something good going on with the Yankees for the past couple of seasons, really almost past couple of decades. I mean, to me, the Yankees really haven't had a leadoff hitter since Chuck Knobloch. You have to go back to the late 90s there. And I don't even consider Derek Jeter really a leadoff hitter. He's really ideally should have been like a number 2 hitter there, but just for the situation of who they had available, Jeter went to the leadoff spot there, and the Yankees rode that out there. But this seems to be the issue with the Yankees in the most recent years. You've seen odd leadoff hitters. We've seen Anthony Rizzo lead off in the past. We've, of course, Aaron Judge lead off in the past. So it just seems like the Yankees can never get themselves a de facto leadoff hitter, so they always put someone there who really doesn't fit, and then whatever works out, it works out. It's not, you don't really need somebody there, but it's just nice to have your typical, whether it's a Chuck Knobloch type there, or Tony Phillips go back to the Oakland A's there, Ricky Henderson. It's just good to have a speedster guy who could get on base, high base percentage guy, and you kind of get on base there, you bug the pitcher, you steal a base, and you start your inning off, start scoring some runs that way, versus it seems like the Yankees lately have been using sluggers and stuff like that in that leadoff spot there. And of course, you look at last season, they used Volpe there, got off to a good start to the season, then kind of backtracked a little bit, and the Yankees were kind of really trying anyone to get out there, even tried a little bit Ben Rice, and then finally Gleyber Torres was able to sort of stabilize the position and did a good job in the late season and in the postseason there, but of course now it's Gleyber bolting for Detroit there, and not that the Yankees wanted to re-sign him anyway. The Yankees kind of left with the void of who's going to be the leadoff hitter, so Boone and I guess with instructions of Cashman's input there, going with Austin Wells at the leadoff spot there. But look, you can't say it hasn't worked there. And if you look at his numbers this spring, they're very good. Hitting .364, 3 home runs, all been from that leadoff spot, and 6 RBIs. So it seems like he's driving that spot there, and it seems like Boone's something like he might go with and just at least start the season there. So I don't like it, but again, I still know what other options the Yankees have. You could potentially put Jazz in a leadoff hitter just because he's a bit of a speedster, but he's also a bit of a free swinger as well there. And so I don't know if you want something like that. Wells could be a little bit more disciplined at the plate than Jazz could be. Other options you might look, you might want to look at give Volpe another shot there, but I don't know unless Volpe really proves himself. I don't know if you want to put him out there again, have him fail, and have him sort of backtrack again. So I don't think the Yankees want to go to that Wells. So I guess this from a process of elimination, Wells would make the most sense there, but I don't like the move again. I'd rather have more of a traditional leadoff type there, but the Yankees don't seem to have that type of player right now on their roster. So I guess despite the fact he just wants to go with Wells on that one, we'll see. But so far this spring, it has been working well for them. And one of the questions this camp really, because everyone's kind of solidified in this spot, really, who's going to win the third baseman job. Again, everyone else is pretty much locked in at their positions. And, of course, you had the mix of Oswaldo Cabrera, Peraza, and, of course, DJ. But, of course, DJ taken out early with the calf injury, which right now there's still no timetable. Again, there's grade 1 or 2 strain there, but still no timetable for him to come back. So, is he going to be ready for opening day? Probably not. And right now, Oswaldo Cabrera, not to say he's been, Babe Ruth there, but again, a little bit more impressive. Been making the plays at third, so probably for opening day, you're looking at Oswaldo Cabrera as your third baseman. Again, I think he's a little stronger at some of the other positions, mainly second base than third base there. But again, I think he can at least hold down the fourth there. But that's a position where maybe, again, such like the Yankees needing ace, maybe around trade deadline, you might need about thinking of getting a kind of a real legitimate, bona fide third baseman. But at least to start the season, it's not terrible. And I'm sure you heard, but we have to just, at least recognize the passing of Art Shalek at age 100. He's a former Yankee player we kind of mentioned about last season. At the time was the oldest major living player, as well as living Yankee at the time there. But it looks like he did, pass away at the age of 100. And of course, his claim to fame is that he was the player that was called up when Mickey Mantle was sent back down in '51. Again, remember Mantle first came up to the majors there, had number 6, was struggling a little bit. He got sent down to the minors and was almost ready to quit baseball. Obviously, Mickey had to talk with his father. His father kind of encouraged him to, either give it another shot or come back with me and working in the coal mines. Mantle said, they'll really play baseball. Kind of picked it up there, came back to the majors, then switched to number 7 there. And of course, Mickey Mantle had his career. But Art Shalek, again, was that player that took his spot for that time there. And he was kind of player, not a big stats guy. I mean, he looked as not impressive, but he's kind of those players that kind of lucky just to be at the right place at the right time. Did earn 3 rings with the Yankees there in their glory days there in the 50s there. But unfortunately, yes, passed away recently at the age of 100. So that's the episode. Obviously, not good news at all with losing Cole for the entire season. Can't sugarcoat it, but I'll say, don't give up on the Yankees season. It's not as devastating as losing Aaron Judge, for example, there. So again, I think the Yankees will manage their way there. And if you want to look back, since Cole has been there, have the Yankees won any championships? No. Has he been like El Duque and pitching big games for the Yankees and winning championships and bring all that stuff to parades? No there. So, the Yankees have been losing with him, so I guess they could continue to lose without him or possibly win without him there. So, again, not the worst. I mean, it is pretty terrible, but again, not terrible as losing Aaron Judge there, for example. So that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to both the audio podcast here on YouTube, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah.